Street.
Right.
So he was only about 9 or 10 years old. How old were you?
This was at Grandma's house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
Grandma Barbado.
You
When
came in the
they moved
house.
across the street where my friend Joni lived. 80
It
ounce.
was Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And Jimmy was over the house. He came over the house. And you walked in. You were there.
Yeah.
Or you walked in. I don't remember. And Jimmy came dressed up like
That
Santa.
was Grandma's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Grandma Barbado's house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jimmy
And
walked
Jimmy
in.
Jimmy was dressed up as Santa Claus because he was working at the place on
Dots.
Richmond Avenue.
Yeah, Dots.
Yeah. So you thought he was Santa Claus.
For about 5 seconds.
Yeah. So then he saw your father's shoes. You're not Santa Claus, you're Jimmy. Look at your shoes. I'll never forget that.
But I remember your father took me fishing. The first time I ever went fishing, I think I was like about 6 years old, and I think you were overseas at the time. And we went to Clove Lakes.
Okay, I remember that.
And we caught some carp there. And we walked from Clove Lakes to Grandma Barbado's house carrying the carp. and Jimmy cuts it up, and he wanted somebody to cook them for dinner. And carp is like the nastiest food.
Yeah, right.
But Jimmy was I always remember that. Jimmy took me fishing the first time. He took me fishing a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a great, he was a good guy. And I remember you when Aunt Camilla first moved into the house on Sheridan Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Remember they used to have the Christmas parties?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I don't remember how old you are, but I was probably like about 5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you were still in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were going, the family was walking from Aunt Camilla's house to my mother's house,
I got a vague
and
recollection of that.
you had me on your shoulders.
I got a vague recollection of that, walking from here to Aunt Camilla's house.
Do you remember that,
Walking
Mom?
from Aunt Dolly's house to Aunt Camilla's house.
Tommy had me on his shoulders.
You are?
Tommy
We were
carried.
walking from your house to Aunt Camilla's house, and I had Vinny on my shoulders.
Do you remember that?
You, Vinny, my mom, me, that's all I remember. Maybe Bernie was there, maybe Hank was there, I don't remember. But we had walked from your house to Aunt Camilla's new house. And I remember having Vinny on my shoulders.
Gave him good practice for when he was humping a pack.
I remember
a couple
when we were
couple
little,
years later.
Michelle was a baby, because I think we were still in Staten Island. I think you had gone off to the Marines or something, because we were all at Grandma's house, and you were giving us pictures of Vinny in the service. He must have graduated or had done something. It was a holiday.
OCS, probably. Probably when you graduated OCS.
Or maybe when I was in Okinawa or something.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was like between 10 and 20, we didn't see much of you because you were you were enlisted. You were always a cousin Vinny that we never got to see because
One adventure or another.
Yeah. And we would hear all these exciting things you were doing, and I remember looking at my brother like, "What are we doing in freaking Staten Island? Like, come on!"
Ma, why did you hate me? Why did you hate it so much that I went in the Marines?
Because I didn't want you to go to war.
Yeah.
He was in Vietnam.
Right. How come you hated when I went in the Marines?
I didn't like the idea.
Why?
You want to know something about him? I'll tell you. He's too much of a Marine now. He never outgrew it.
Always a Marine, right?
I had somebody stop me coming out of a restaurant yesterday before I got on the plane. I stopped for a breakfast at a local restaurant in Tucson. And I had my cover on. And, of course, thank you for your service. And I was, thank you for recognizing it. And I was about to go on. He said, they say that once a Marine, always a Marine. And I said, well, yeah, we get
That's
pretty
the
well
truth.
drummed into us. It's true. We do get pretty
Well,
well.
what did you call that? The thing you were wearing on your head?
My cover.
Okay. You know what a cover is, Ma? A cover is a hat. So he hasn't been in the Marines in almost 50 years, and he still calls it a cover instead of a hat.
Yeah.
So it stays with you.
Once
It
a
gets
Marine,
drummed
always
into
a
you.
Marine.
Yeah, it gets drummed into you. Yeah.
Sometimes he expects me to return.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ma, I went to now when I went to OCS, I promised you it was just a summer job, right?
You
When I went to OCS, I promised you it was just a summer job, right? And then, like 2 weeks before I was being commissioned, I told you I was going in the Marines, and weren't you mad?
Big liar.
What'd you do?
He went in the Marines.
No, what did you do about it?
She was,
Did you have a fight? Did you yell at
she was
him?
very, extremely upset, and I remember she was ironing clothes downstairs, and I had known I was going in the Marines for
Did
months.
my mother ever tell you why I didn't go to OCS?
Your mother why?
Did my mother ever tell you why I did not go to OCS?
Lie.
No, did she tell you?
Did she
No.
ever tell you? They offered me OCS. I was only 18, and they offered me OCS as I would re-up for another 2 years above the 4 I had. And then when I turned 20, quote unquote, I'd go to OCS. I called Mom, and I said, hey Mom, they offered me OCS. They want me to re-up for another 2 years. You re-up, and I'll disown you. That's what she said to me, word for word. You re-up, and I'll disown you. So I did not re-up.
I should have said that to him.
Wouldn't have
Yeah, it
mattered.
wouldn't have mattered. I knew What's that OCS? answer already.
Officers Candidate School.
Okay.
And then when I went to Afghanistan, like 8 or 9 years ago, I swore up and down that I would never step foot off the place that I was at. That remember that, Ma?
What did you swear?
I swore that the place was like Fort Knox, and I was never gonna,
Bullshit.
and I was never gonna go out of,
Tell your mom.
I was never gonna go out of the wire. And then like 2 weeks before I came back to the States, there was a front page article on it in the Staten Island Advance. Do you remember that? Do you remember that,
I
Ma?
thought she found out that you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
That's what I
Front page. It was right. It was like right when Obama was inaugurated,
Yeah.
and it had me on some mountaintop in Afghanistan. And then my mother. Do you remember that, Ma? And your friend called. One of my mother's friends called. Said, "Oh, Vincent's pictures on the front page of the Advance." So I
Got
lied.
nailed. Busted.
If my troops were going to be going off the wire, so
Yeah,
was
but I
I.
think you joined the Marines because Tommy was in the Marines.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Probably, yeah, a little bit.
Well,
What's the age difference between the
times?
two?
I apologize for that.
A lot. No, like 13, 14 years.
About you to myself. That damn Tommy didn't go in the Marines.
That's what I remember these
I'm gonna join.
conversations at Grandma's house between Grandma and Aunt Dolly, when it would just be the girls. The boys would be out doing their thing. They'd kibitz and they'd complain about what kids doing what and what kids doing that and how dare they? They know what they're putting their mothers through. And I do remember those conversations.
But
I did put my mother through a hell of a lot.
I do
really did.
remember when your uncle was overseas that my mom had a map of Vietnam on her door, and every day, like the news would be on, and this was 1968
Yeah.
at the height of the war, and you know they'd have the casualty figures. Walter Cronkite would be saying, "Oh yeah, you know, 50 Americans were killed today," and my mother was all bent out of shape about it. And then I vaguely even remember your mother being all upset every day.
Yeah. You know, Mom got a knock on the door one day. The first time I was hurt, she got noticed that I had been killed, KIA. And they told me they had notified my mother that I was KIA. And so I insisted on a phone call. And I remember my mom crying. Yeah, crying like a baby on the phone when she heard from me, yeah. And it wasn't an officer, and I don't understand why it wasn't an
That's
officer.
surprising.
Yeah, she had two staff sergeants knock on the door and say I'd been KIA. And they told me in Da Nang, beg your pardon, in Dong Ha, in the hospital in Dong Ha, that my family had been advised I was dead and that I should get in touch with them. So, yeah.
I mean, at one point it is kind of understandable. Like, think about the time frame. Everybody's like more important, like trying to fight this war where things just fall through the cracks. That could also be why those.
That's
people-
true, yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, that's
I remember
crazy.
Jim used to love to tell the story about when they heard you were coming home, and he went downstairs, took
Mhm.
that ping pong table.
Yeah, and he put together that sign.
And Mr. Joseph came down.
I remember when you went overseas, that the whole, well, not the whole family, I remember my mother, your mother, Hank,
Mhm.
I think my father, and I remember at least me and probably Jimmy, we went to the airport with you, put you on the plane.
Are you talking about going to Nam?
Yeah,
After 30 days, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
vaguely, you know, I remember you like in your uniform or something,
Yeah.
but I was like 5 years old.
Now I'll tell you a story of one Marine to another Marine, being that we're bearing our souls here. I came home to Hawaii because of Lisa. And
Were you UA? Because you were supposed to go on
That's right.
R&R? Because I had always heard that,
mhm,
and I said to her, how could he go if he was on R&R, because it was only like 3 or 4 days or whatever,
mhm,
how could you go from there
mhm.
to New York? And then my mother said that you were gonna run away from the Marines, or
Yeah.
and you ran into some old veteran,
That's true.
and he said to go
I
back.
didn't know you knew about
He
it.
said you got to do your duty and go back.
I told
or
my
something.
mom, my mom said, you know, your aunt said, you don't want to go back, we'll go to Canada. And I wasn't going to put her in that spot. I said, no, I'm going back. But at the airport, I bumped into an old Navy guy. He was I'm going to say a chief, he was probably an E6 or an E7. And we had a few drinks together, and he told me about some things that happened in his life. And he told me I'd regret it if I didn't go back. And I did go back because of him.
Now, when you went back, weren't you UA?
Yeah, I got off the side.
And what did they do to you?
No, it was, you know, it really wasn't anything because we were short of personnel.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I honestly don't know what the punishment was, remember what the punishment was, but it was not significant because we...
How did you get flight back?
Oh, I got it, I went to LA, went to Pendleton, and got a Mac
from
flight.
New York?
Yeah, right. I went to LA from New York.
But didn't they check your orders and say, you know, you're
I
UA?
flew civilian.
Oh, okay.
I flew civilian. And then when I got to Pendleton, I took a Mac flight. And that's when you're UA. Yes, sir, I'm reporting back.
Well, at least you went back.
Yeah. Anyway, I got office hours, and it was no big deal. And I say it was no big deal because there was no significant punishment. And the reason there was no significant punishment is because we had, again, we'd been decimated. And we'd been decimated.
Your
And I
mother
don't
was a
remember if that was
basket
shortly
case.
after that
She
February.
was a basket.
was.
Now you're March.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was shortly after that or
Well,
shortly
you were
before
only
that.
in country then for a couple months.
Yeah.
But would they allow you to take a R&R being
Well,
that
they
junior?
didn't know about it. I went to Thailand, bought a civilian ticket.
Thailand's
to,
nice.
Yeah, bought a civilian ticket to Hawaii, and bought a civilian ticket to New York. And yeah, I was on the plane for nearly 30 hours. You know, I was on the plane for nearly 30 hours. But my mother had said that she would pull up stakes and go to Canada if I wanted to, and I was going to put them in that position. And I honestly didn't know what I was going to do when I went back to LaGuardia. It wasn't Newark, it was LaGuardia, and I bumped into the sailor, and we had a long talk at the bar because he knew I was UA, and it was obvious.
Okay, here's a question for you.
uh,
What was your thoughts the first time you got into a firefight?
God save me. I got to tell
Were
you,
you-
and this is for your
Were you
benefit, okay?
were you scared, or was it like
Oh,
a
no,
surreal? Was it a
we walked-
surreal?
we-
Was it a surreal
We walked in-
experience?
Yeah, we walked into a horseshoe ambush, so it was chaos. Right? The platoon had walked into a horseshoe. And this is for you. I thought I was going to die. I really did. And I hear Grandma's voice telling me I'm going to be okay. All right? They were walking in mortars. We had broke the horseshoe, and we had taken cover and dug in. And they're walking in mortars on we're splintered. We're all over the place, okay? And they're walking in mortars on a couple of different positions. And honestly, God, I heard Grandma tell me I was going to be okay. Her grandma told me I was gonna be okay.
Were you scared?
I was scared shitless.
I mean, but you were scared, but did you panic or did your training kick in?
Oh, no, the training kicked in. I mean, the training's what saved us. I mean, those of us who survived that particular firefight, that's what saved us. And the Marine Corps is a difficult life to live, but the training is what keeps you alive in that kind of a situation.
Was it came in instinct because
Yeah, there wasn't any thinking about it, it's just reaction. There wasn't any thinking about it, and yeah, the training is what saved us. And that was the first firefighter I was in, and honestly, God, I heard Grandma's voice tell me I'd be okay.
Was she a role model for you, your
Grandma?
grandmother?
Minnie,
Oh, I was very close with her.
did you panic at all when you were overseas?
no,
You never did?
wasn't in any firefights. The closest thing that happened, there was an IED that blew up like across the street. Now the second and third time, was it easier, or do you still think?
No, it doesn't get easier. It depends on what side of the fight you're on. I mean, if you set the trap.
Did you ever set any traps?
Yeah,
see
we
them,
set traps,
see them
yeah.
walking in.
Yeah. Long story short, if you're setting the trap, it's slow motion. Everything is taking place the way it's supposed to take place. If you're caught in the trap,
Were you
it's chaos.
gleeful?
Beg your pardon?
Were you gleeful saying,
No.
yeah, we're going to get these? Or it was just,
No.
this is my
You know,
job?
that's something that a lot of people talked about, and this is not necessarily.
Or I'm saying retribution or
No.
whatever? Where this is
We
just your job,
only-
you got to do it.
Yeah, this is a job we had to do, and all the BS that I used to hear about taking trophies in terms of ears and that kind of thing, I never saw any of that take place. I never saw that happen. And we were in lots of firefights. Now, we were never in the South. We were always in the North. And, you know, we were always fighting regulars, the NVA regulars. And we were never fighting the Cong or anything like that. So I never saw any trophy taking. But yet guys who are Marines in the combat or in the group that I go to about the PTSD talk about there having been...
They do?
Yeah,
I've never heard of any Marines
Yeah.
doing anything like that.
Now again, he was artillery. He wasn't necessarily.
Was he an FO?
Big pardon?
Was he an FO?
No,